Long ago, before Europeans came on the scene, the noble families of the Tlingit, Haida, and other native peoples shared these waters with the killer whales. The orcas, like the bear, the wolf, the eagle, and the raven, were more than just animals. They lived in what the native people called the spirit world. They weren't just killer whales. They were killer whale people. A chief's son went fishing alone, and a terrible storm arose. He soon found himself washed ashore under a strange sky he had never seen before. There was a village there. The houses, the canoes, and even the people were very large. "I am a chief's son, and I am lost. A storm has brought me to you," said the boy. "We know this. You are welcome, son of a chief from above," said one who appeared like a chief himself. And together they entered the largest house of all. Inside, the house was crowded with finely dressed people enjoying a feast. They gave him a blanket to wear and a fish to eat, but the fish was not cut up or cooked. Strange, too, on the walls all around were what looked like killer whales. After they finished eating, the chief said to the others, "Let us sing a welcome song and invite our guests to join in the dance of our people." You are welcome, son of a chief from above," they sang. The boy and his hosts began to dance around the fire together to the steady beat of the drums. He matched them step for step, and the chief smiled when he saw that the boy had so quickly learned their dance. In return, the boy offered to teach the songs and dances of his own people. The chief was delighted and now followed the boy's lead. The celebration went on in this way for many long hours, the boy and his new friends each learning from the other. But though the boy was enjoying himself, he began to think more and more of home with each song he sang. He missed his father and mother and wondered if he would ever find his way back to them again. Suddenly, the drumming and dancing stopped. The chief turned to him and said, "We are glad that the storm has brought you to our village, but now you are thinking of your own. When you wish to return," he continued, "grip my staff tightly and stand behind me. Close your eyes and think of your own home, wishing to be there only." The boy did as he was told. He took the staff and stepped behind the chief. Closing his eyes, he pictured his father and mother, his house, and the people of his village. As he did, the boy felt a great surge beneath him, as if he were being carried upward at greater and greater speed. He kept his eyes closed and held on tight. The motion stopped, and the boy opened his eyes. There he was, lying on the beach, in front of his very own village. "My son," cried his mother, "where have you been? We thought you were lost in a storm a year ago." "I was lost in a storm, but it was only yesterday," exclaimed the boy. But a year's time had indeed passed since he had disappeared in the storm. That night, the whole village celebrated his return and marveled at the boy as he danced with the staff and told of the large and mysterious people under the strange sky. Wow, that's great. Storm Boy by Paul Owen Lewis, who we have right here. Tell us a little bit more about the killer whale people.
I'd love to. Well, the reason I called this Storm Boy and you see these killer whale people is that in my studies of Northwest Coast myth, one of the things that stood out most was that whenever a hero or a heroine would have an adventure with animals, they weren't referred to as animals, they were referred to as people. They were bear people, wolf people, killer whale people, and so forth. And as I was reading those old myths, I thought, what would they look like? What would they be like? And a lot of clues were in the myths. There were villages under the seas for killer whale people. And most fascinating is that when the so-called killer whales would be on the surface, swimming in their whale bodies, that's in our world, okay? So they had like a costume or a disguise, and they would speak animal language. But then as they went down beneath the sea to their villages, they would literally almost zip off their bodies and hang them on the walls. So that's why you see them on the walls in the book.
And then they have their spirit world.
Yes, and under their sort of spirit form is as people, not human beings, but people.
Right.
And that reflects this idea that all beings are human beings. Not that we're all human, but that we're all people.
Or that the spirit is universal in all living things.
Exactly, right. And at some place, on some level, we can all be equal and communicate, and we all can respect each other. And I think that's something that I wanted to bring out in the book.
And there's a connection, almost no difference, between the soul of the killer whale
That's right. That
or
we're
the soul
equals,
of the human being.
Equals on that plane. And that translates into how Native peoples respected whales, bears, wolves, or whatever. Is they respected them as people, separate but equal cultures to be respected and well treated.
Well, thank you, Paul, very much for sharing Storm Boy with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's an extremely cool book.
Oh, thanks a lot.
And if anyone's interested in other killer whale stories, pick up Davy's Dream, another wonderful book by Paul Owen Lewis about a boy who goes sailing and is befriended by killer whales. Another great book to pick up is called Killer Whales by John Ford, Graham Ellis, and Ken Balcom. It looks at the 25 years of research that's been done here in Washington State and British Columbia on wild killer whales. The cool thing is that it not only helps us understand what killer whales are, but who they are. It's pretty amazing when you think that we know every individual whale in these waters. We know who their mothers are, their brothers, their sisters. We know how old they are and how long they live. And who knows, maybe someday soon, we may be able to listen to their calls and actually know what they're saying. Sounds like Dr. Dolittle, but it's not too far-fetched. And it's all because of this incredible research being done on wild killer whales.